Well, Mayuresh Joshi of Angel Broking and SP Tulsian also join in now to discuss some more stocks and market dynamics. Mayuresh, good afternoon. Let me start with you. You have an interesting stock pick for our viewers, UPL. You want to take us through that?
Oh yes, good afternoon. And clearly I think if you look at UPL, it's one of the top 5 generic agrochemical companies in the world with presence across North America, Latin America, the Eurozone, and again the domestic markets as well. Now probably the high entry barriers to this business itself is a deterrent for a lot of new companies to come through. So that is one of the biggest advantages that UPL probably possesses at this point of time. Couple that up with the cost benefit advantages that it has with the integrated facilities that it probably operates out of is going to be a huge value addition when it comes to the expansion in EBITDA margins. Now, if I talk about the global agrochemical industry as a whole, it's valued around $53 billion as per CY14, and clearly 28% of that was on the patented side, 32% off patented, and the entire industry is dominated by 6 innovators: Bayer, Monsanto, BASF. So clearly, I think if you're talking about the off patented products, I think the pie itself comes to around $18 billion, and when you're talking about the generic volume growth exceeding industry volume growth over the past few years, and the trend expected to continue, our own take is that the generic players will take a much bigger and a better pie out of the off-patented products. So clearly I think food security risks which are heightened have ensured that governments probably follow the path on which UPL probably follows, and that probably will also ensure that the kind of off-patent market share that UPL might gain going forward can be quite humongous. Add to that around $3 to $4 billion of patents are expected to go off-patent rather over the next 3 to 4 years, and that itself possesses a huge opportunity for a player like UPL. So clearly in terms of financials, our own take is we are expecting a 15% top line growth close to that 15,750 odd mark. By FY17 we are expecting a 20% bottom line growth close to 1650 odd crore, and margins again, as I said earlier, I think should come around that 17.5% mark. So clearly from a valuation perspective, trades around 11 times at the current juncture, which we believe is quite reasonable. So I think any decline onto the stock should be taken as a good opportunity to buy the stock with a target of 510 over the next 12 months.
All right. Well, that's the word coming in on United Phosphorus. Mr. Tulsian also joins in now. Mr. Tulsian, afternoon. You've done some amount of study on the BK Birla Group and the succession plan that they've come out with. Tell us what is the research that you've done and which are the listed stocks that could get impacted.
See, Sonia, it's a very interesting turn which I in fact feel so. First, let me come on the companies which belong to BK Birla Group. First, the flagship company is Century Textile. Second is Century Enka. Third is Kesoram, fourth is Mangalam Cement, and fifth is Mangalam Timber Products. These are the 5 companies, and if you see BK Birla, he had 4 children, one father of Kumar Mangalam Birla and 3 daughters. And now if you see the situation going forward, the way the interlocking of the holdings held by the companies, now there is this news is in the public domain that in principle he has said that that Century Textile and Century Enka will go to Kumar Mangalam Birla, and he has said that Kesoram will go to his other daughter Manjushri. But actually there was no clarity in respect to the Mangalam Cement and Mangalam Timber. But now if you see today in the morning, Kesoram actually, let me just go a little backward also. Kesoram has agreed to sell their tire plant at Haridwar for 2195 crore to JK Tire for 2200 crore. And they have also on 19th December they have agreed to raise 650 crore, for which the EGM postal ballot has already been initiated. The process has already been initiated, which says that either by QIB or by the FCCB and all that. It doesn't say anything about the rights issue. That means Kesoram is not contemplating any rights issue, but they intend to raise 650 crore. Now if you see today's disclosure in the morning, Kesoram has got the pledge release on all the stocks. Let me just quickly go through. Century Textile, they are holding 2.71%. Century Enka, they are holding 6.14%. Mangalam Timber, they are holding 13.8%. Mangalam Cement, they are holding 14.31%. And Jayashree Tea, they are holding 1.34%. Again, these are all five companies of the BK Birla Group, in which Kesoram has been holding the stake, and they were all pledged. What they did this morning, they released this pledge, which was earlier pledged with IndusInd Bank, and shifted this pledge to the Axis Bank. Not for all. Actually, the disclosure of shifting this pledge back to Axis Bank has not been intimated for all these stocks. But what it implies that probably, maybe because sometimes when you have this inter-se transfer between the promoters, it is placed with the one common bank, and I presume that maybe Axis Bank could be the common bank, which is also, operated by the AB Birla Group also. So probably we will get to see all these stakes getting transferred from Kesoram Industries maybe to the closely held companies held by Aditya Birla Group, that is Kumar Mangalam. And I feel that once that comes in, then you will see the whole process or the shareholding pattern getting straightened. Just to give an example, in Century Textile, now 50% stake is held by Pilani Investments and the other companies of AB Birla Group. Once this 2.71 goes away, then entire 50%, 50.4% will be held by the Kumar Mangalam. Similar will be the case with Century Enka. 6.1% is the only non-Pilani Investment and non-AB Birla Group company which is held outside. Similar is the case with Mangalam Cement, 14.31. So what my point is that once this all comes in the public domain, or once these stakes are transferred, because Kesoram board on 19th December has also resolved to monetize all these listed stocks of about 450 crore. So once this starts happening, then this whole succession plan of BK Birla Group companies, which are 6 companies which I have said, will get straightened. And it is likely now the clarity is coming back on the Mangalam Cement also, that most probably that company also will go into the AB Birla fold. So if you want to summarize in nutshell, except for Kesoram Industries, which may remain with Manjushri, the daughter of, and maybe Jayshree, which will remain with Jayshree, the daughter of Mr. BK Birla, these 2 companies may not come in the fold of the BK Birla, in the fold of AB Birla Group, but all other 5 companies or 4 companies, which will come to the Aditya Birla Group company. And once that process starts happening, I think that will re-rate all these stocks, or that will be seen quite positive.
Okay, Mangalam Timber right now is up about 10%. Kesoram, of course, is up about 5%. Century Inca as well, up about 4%. But as Mr. Tulsian pointed out, these are really long-term strategies, not the stocks where you would expect gains over 2 or 3 days, but in terms of long-term plays. But really the stock of the moment now clearly again is Larsen & Toubro. It's a fresh 52-week low now for Larsen, and in fact now this stock, its high was 1890, it's now at 1185. Mayuresh, what's going wrong for L&T? I mean, a lot of things going wrong, but what in particular stands out? And at 1185, would you be a buyer in Larsen & Toubro?
So clearly, Anuj, I think post the second quarter results, I think the order guidance which was reduced, the revenue guidance which was reduced, we in fact reduced the numbers in our estimates as well. So the top line growth was reduced as 5% in our estimates, close to 72,500 odd crores for FY15. We've actually pulled down our bottom line estimates as well by 6%. However, I think with the fall in oil prices and energy prices, you're probably expected to see margins probably getting compressed. And what really happens with the hydrocarbons business is something to be looked out for in the coming few quarters. Having said that, probably I think the other 2 segments that probably are a drag are the heavy engineering and the metals and the metallurgical segment for L&T, which will probably ensure that the margins are not expanding at the pace that one really expects. So clearly I think the positives in terms of the huge order book of 2,44,000 crores holds it in good stead. But clearly I think the underperformance in terms of the net working capital, which is still around 25% of the overall top line, along with the kind of compression that one really expects in margins, is clearly getting played out on the stock. However, I think over the next 2 years, I think that entire theme is typically based on the capex cycle recovery. Capex cycle recovery happens sooner than later over the next few quarters. I think L&T can be a big beneficiary along with the non-core investments that it's probably holding. So any sale of that front, including the listing of L&T Infotech, can be viewed very, very positively. So clearly I think any declines onto the stock, I think if the stock comes back to that level around 1100 odd rupees, I think it becomes an excellent opportunity for long-term investors to start chipping in.
Okay, Mayuresh, just before we let you go, wanted your views also on Maruti. That stock is down about close to 10% in 2016 already. Do you foresee some more selling pressure, or do you think that 4,200 is a level where it could stabilize?
But it's quite possible that Maruti might correct back to those 4,000, 3,900 odd levels. But clearly, I think it's the yen appreciation which is probably playing a little bit on the stock at this point of time, which clearly affects Maruti's margins. But clearly, I think if you look at the longer time story, I think you're probably looking at a better product mix coming out of Maruti. The market share gains have been there, and it's been very evident for Maruti. The new launches have held it in good state, including Baleno, which have been very well received by the markets. And again, our own take is that the earnings should grow at a pace of 36 to 37% 27% over the next few years. So clearly, I think we're still maintaining our EPS estimates of around 225 odd rupees for FY17. So any correction to those 4,000, 3,900 odd levels, I think again, like L&T, I think that becomes a very good opportunity for long-term investors to start chipping in.
Okay, long-term investors can start buying Maruti now. It's down 9% this year, as Sonia pointed out, down 12% from last year's highs. But the sector that's surging now is sugar. Mr. Tulsian, we discussed this last week that maybe prices going up. This time, will you be more constructive on the rally than you were last time, or would you say this is again just a random move which will get over at some point?
No, Anuj, this time it looks like, because if you see the situation for the next year also, again this crushing will come to an end in the month of April, because actually earlier the industry was expecting this season's production to be at 27-28 million ton, but that is likely to fall short by maybe by about 1 million ton or so, because the situation is not. So maybe the crushing will stop, maybe in the middle of April, which was earlier expected to run till May. And if this is a situation where the prices have already started hardening, maybe the commodity prices, sugar prices have gone up by about couple of rupees in this last 1 month. If you see UP getting sold at 31.50, South about 29.50. So the situation or the trend going forward is quite positive, number one. Number two, next season, which will start in October, that is October 2016, are going to see the lower production. That's a foregone conclusion that the production is going to be low. So all these things are, and in some of the cases in UP, in few mills, the recovery is seen better. So maybe on a stock specific basis, one needs to closely watch this December quarter results, because there was a lot of inventory losses company have booked in the first quarter, which got reversed in the Q2, but Q3 will be the flat, without having inventory effect being carried out, because it's of the fresh stock being created by crushing. So that will be very interesting play. But yes, going forward, overall, I am having a positive view on the sugar stocks.
All right, let's thank Mayuresh for joining us, and we'll request Mr. Tulsian to stay back for a bit more. We have been talking about a lot of buzzing stocks. I just wanted to pull up the intraday chart or the chart of Apollo Tyres. That stock hits a fresh 52-week low today and has been one of the biggest casualties post the heavy dumping that we've seen of Chinese tires. The stock, if you pull up a 1-year chart, has actually lost 40% in the last 12 months itself. That's been a big laggard. We'll take a break, but many more stocks is what we'll talk about when we come back on the other side of the break. We'll also get you an outlook on the markets in 2016 with Manishi Ray Chaudhary of BNP Paribas.
We're still sticking with that. That's based on 15 times 1-year forward P multiples. So in a way, we are kind of arguing that re-rating this year will be difficult. We're still sticking to a macro backdrop of disinflation process to continue, and growth recovery in GDP as well as therefore earnings to keep surprising markets negatively. The structural drivers are still intact. Equities are underowned by retail, and given other asset classes like gold and property are not attractive, retail investor flow into equities should be supported by and large. It's not just whether retail investors will come in and help markets, but it's the other way around also. If markets don't do well, then the retail inflows could be at risk.
Hi, welcome back to the show. It's still holding up about 0.5% or so for the index. It's gotten a bit volatile. As you can see, the jagged edges in the last half an hour or so. So don't be surprised if you do see some more profit taking by the end. There's some news coming in on Maruti. They will launch a new compact SUV, Vitara Brezza, in the month of February. So Anuj, this might be of your interest since you are looking at buying a new SUV. There you have it. Maruti is going to launch a new compact SUV, but the Creta is still the best, right?
You own it, so you tell me. I mean, clearly, it's out of my budget actually, so that's why I'm looking for maybe a smaller car.
Right? Yeah, this might be in your budget. I don't know the price range of Maruti's new car, but in Feb, so next month.
Oh yeah, so that's going to be another launch for Maruti. That's third new launch in a matter of 6 months for Maruti. S-Cross, Baleno, and now this.
Yes.
So clearly, you could have the yen as a headwind or tailwind, but the underlying thesis clearly stays intact.
And they're even all their new products, whether it's the Ciaz, the S-Cross or the Baleno, all of them have done well. Yeah. So especially the S-Cross. So now they've got a little more confidence to launch the new SUV. Vitara Brezza is what it's going to be called. But as promised, this is time for our Friday special. and this company is really interesting. Did you know of a stock that is on Varinder's radar, a company that's promoted by former Bollywood actress Kimi Katkar and whose stock price has surged 3,200% in the last 2 years. The company has no revenues from operations and has even lost money in F&O trading. Varinder has dug out this company for us. Varinder, all of us have nostalgic memories of that picture that we just saw of Kimi Katkar and Hum, but take it away. Tell us about this company.
Well, Anuj reminded me of Tarzan picture, okay? So the name of the company is Shantanu Shorey Aqua Quilt. The current market price is 126 rupees, but if you gauge the price movement from Jan 2014, it was only 3 rupees. So from 3 rupees, the stock has moved to 126, a gain of nearly 3,700%. The name of the company is changed to 52 Weeks Entertainment. Now, clearly, this company is into filmmaking. The founders are very interesting. Shantanu Shorey, who is husband of Kimi Katkar and Kimi Katkar herself, whose name has been mentioned on the website as Nayanthara Katkar Shorey. They also own 51% stake in Four Lions Film Private Limited, which is a production house and which has produced nearly 10 television shows. Now, which are the movies what they have been working with? This is the entire data which is taken from the website and the annual report. So the first movie what they mention is that which was released in July 2013 was Love You Sonio, which actually did a loss of nearly 1.5 crores, again mentioned in the annual report. And the second movie what they mentioned that they have worked is on Kiss Kisko Pyar Karo, which features of course Kapil Sharma. So these are the two movies what they have produced under their banner. For us, the most important thing we have to look at is earnings. So, you go to the annual report, just check on the numbers. There is no revenue from operation for this company in FY15 and FY14. They have some income, but that is only as a portion of other income, which is because of interest income. That is 1.5 crores, 1.6 crores, was in FY15 and 1.27 crores in FY14. So that's all number for a company with a market cap of nearly 440 crores. Also important is just look at the total expenses in terms of the total employee expenses. It was 15 lakh rupees, the total expenses, and out of that, the salary and wages which was paid to the employees was only 1.3 lakh. The rest 14 lakh was given to the director. So this is a company of 440 crores market cap, but the employee expenses is only 1.3 lakh rupees per annum. Can't even believe that. Also, FY15 office expenses for this company is in minus, which is stated in the annual report, minus 730 rupees compared to 6,000 rupees in FY14. So I really don't know what office is this, where you have a office expenses which is in minus. Also, the most important thing, which we will find on page 52 in the annual report, just, this will come on the screen. The company clearly mentions that in FY15 there was a loss on trading in F&O. That was nil in FY15, but in FY14 there was 8 crore loss, which was booked by the company in the P&L accounts, on this measure. Of course, there was a loss on this movie Love You Sonio, 1.5 crores. But I really don't know why this company, which is a listed entity, they will be trading in F&O on behalf of, on the listed entity, trading in F&O and incurring a loss. Go to the balance sheet again. There's nothing in the balance sheet. You can talk about FI reserves and surplus are negative. Long-term debt is nearly 10 crores. Asset again, no current investment. Cash is only 1 lakh rupees. Again, the reason why the stock may be moving up is because it's very concentrated in terms of few shareholders. Promoter holding is only 9.4%, but there are 173 individuals owning 88% equity of the company. So it's only 170 people who own the entire company, and the stock has been just moving up. Talk about balance sheet, profit and loss, or anything in the company, you will not find anything.
Okay, that's interesting. Lot of nostalgia for Varinder, as you pointed out. Mr. Sen, you have had Bollywood connections in the past. Anything interesting here?
No, Anuj, actually I had no Bollywood connection. Let me just say we were just publishing a film magazine, and my partner, he was the editor and the part owner along with me. But if you really see this balance sheet, I don't think that it has, because it's a very thinly traded stock, and as Varinder has all, I think he has postmortem the whole balance sheet of the entire, maybe the history of the company. I don't think that you get to see anything from them, and I don't think that by making these movies they will go further down the drain. You can't really expect them to.
But the last movie did well, right? The Kiss Kisko Pyar Karo actually did well.
But that may be not, that may be off the books, because you need to differentiate that, whether it has done, because if you are confining only to the books, and I don't think that it has any meaning. They've all been saying, increasing stake, and they can only sensationalize the things, but they cannot earn the money. Yeah.
Oh yes, in fact that is a big question mark, right? Some of these films have actually done well, but then again there are no revenues or earnings on the books of these companies. But we have Varinder Bansal as always to tell us about these companies. Thanks so much, Varinder, for joining us. Yeah, sure.
It was, interestingly, if you just see FY15, it was only Shilpa Shetty and KV Kato who made money, among all the fund managers if you have to compare. So it was Hindustan Safety Glass, where we saw the stock moving from 2 rupees to some, what, 1,000-2,000%, and it is this company, which is moving up,
And our very own Mr. Tulsian also made a lot of money with his multi-baggers. Come on, don't forget that. All right, Varinder, thanks for that. Well, Simi Bhaumik is also with us to tell us what to buy or sell today for a reverse trade on Monday. Simi, it's the Friday factor, so we are seeing a lot of volatility in the market. But what are you advising to buy now?
Sonia, good afternoon. Actually, there were two stocks on my radar today. For buying, BTST buying, I had given 2 targets for HPCL. One stock is HPCL. I had given 2 targets, and now that one target is already there, actually I had given 887 and 892, these 2 targets, and now it is trading around 889. I will revise my targets. 895 to 897 will be my fresh targets for HPCL, and I am going to carry it as long as it holds above 880. This stock is a buy, and I will maintain my buy stance. My next stock, second stock, will be RCom. This stock is also looking quite good on technical parameters. This stock should be bought and carried for 84, 85 targets. One can maintain one stop loss below 8150. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. So those are a couple of calls coming in, but let's also get a handle on some more buzzing stocks that our colleague Agam has identified for us. Agam, go for it.
So Sonia, at least in terms of the broader markets, we are looking at more gainers as against losers. So there's some amount of respite coming in as far as the broader markets go. Starting off with the gainers, we are looking at SPL India, which is at least for till 10 minutes ago, it was locked in upper circuit. We're looking at 27% gains through the course of the week for Next Media as well. After standing at good volumes around 7 times against 10-day average volumes. In Swift Laboratories, Tata Coffee has seen a significant surge just in the last 1 hour of trade. Shemaru's Mukta Arts, which is also up as much as 37% through the course of the week. Waito Switchgear, DCW, Orchid, Royal Orchid for that matter, has had a spectacular month, and we're also looking at good gains in Future Lifestyle as well as Brooks Laboratories. A lot of these sugar counters are already up and about in trade, as has been discussed earlier in the show. Triveni Engineering, Earth Sugar, Balrampur Chini, Sakti Sugars, all up and about. On the losing end, however, we do have just a handful of stocks, not too many. SD Aluminium is one of the biggest losers there. Alpha Geo, Energy Development, Global Vectra, Bharti Shipyard and Treehouse. All these counters losing around 5% or less than that. So not much to talk about when it comes to the losers. For now, it's towards the gainers.
All right, Agam. Thanks a lot for that. Tahir Basha of Motilal Oswal Asset Management is also with us. Of course, we're talking to SP Tulsian and Rajat Bose as well. Tahir, good afternoon. The stock that we really need to discuss right now is Maruti, because it's one of your top holdings. It's done remarkably well for your funds, of course, but it's now corrected 12%. Of course, there's been the yen factor, but is the market overreacting, and would you look to buy some more of Maruti at current levels?
No, so clearly the correction has been induced by quite a number of factors, could be even technical factors, and we also saw run up to the MSCI and so on and so forth. So I think some part of the giveaway was as a result of that. Of course, like as I mentioned earlier also on your show, that for the next leg of growth in Maruti will be probably has to be more volume led, and that is where we are keeping our excitement still high with respect to the fact that the volume trends for the market as a whole will probably get a little better, and their ability to gain market share further from the recent launches will enable them to grow at a faster clip. So the story from here on will have to be more of volume growth. I don't really think we are banking as much on margin expansion from here on, and maybe there could be a little bit of giveaway as well, but it could be helped simply because it could be helped by a better product mix. Their mid segment of the market clearly derives far higher realizations, and to that extent there is a good chance that EBITDA per vehicle may still be reasonably solid. So I think the next leg of growth, as I mentioned, is going to be more volume led, and to that extent we continue to kind of hold on to our position. The correction I don't really think has been that sharp, but we're always on the hunt to buy more if at all it corrects very sharply.
Okay, so on the hunt to buy more if it corrects sharply. That is the plate that you saw is the Motilal Oswal Focus 25 fund and the core holdings that they have in that fund. One of the top holdings is also Infosys. Tahir, hi, good afternoon. Next Thursday, Infosys will come out with their earnings. What is the expectation this time around, and would you continue to be optimistic on the stock?
So I think again Infosys is a position within the fund. So you know, we broadly I think this is for the sector as such, the earnings trajectory is not really going to be that great. It is generally, as we've known, it's a weak quarter for tech as such. But I think you know, for some companies we'll have to probably see as to how what the top line growth comes about to be. The band of for at least the large cap companies is more like minus 0.5 to plus 1.5 in terms of constant currency revenue growth. So I think it should probably be at least the very near quarter is going to be is not going to be a very exciting quarter for the sector as a whole. But broadly, we think some of the missing pieces of Infosys, you know, in terms of things like sales as well as in terms of their ability to add new clients and increase the penetration level with some of their top clients is now getting back into shape after a fairly long gap, and I think that is probably going to lead them to, if not better than industry, but at least industry benchmark performance in terms of top line. They also have enough levers to probably increase a little bit of margins too. So broadly, I think their ability to maybe outperform the sector should be higher compared to what it was earlier.
Okay, Rajat, a word on Cipla. It's seen a bit of a crack in today's trade. In fact, the start hasn't been good for Cipla as well for this year. At current price, is it a buy or sell for you?
No, it's not a buy because Cipla is trading below 630 and probably it is headed for further lower levels of 613 to about 610. If it were to take support there and post a bounce back,